Success and wealth minus contentment equals an injustice, a sick injustice. According to Solomon, let's get into God's Word. We are in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, which means we're about halfway through the book of Ecclesiastes. We're studying it because it's a tool for evangelism, and we're studying it because it's a very real-life book. It talks about real-life things. Solomon was an incredibly wealthy and powerful guy. If you transplanted Solomon into 2020, he would have been among the top wealth in the world. He would have probably dominated social media, and most people would have respected him in some regard. With that said, he's writing a book as he's older in life, and he's looking back on his life, and he sees a lot of things. Now, chapter 6 is one of those chapters that would be very easy to pluck out of the Bible and take a lot of things out of context. You can't do that, because this book, Ecclesiastes, is really this long monologue with a final conclusion. And he uses a lot of things over and over. Phrases like meaningless and under the sun and I saw an evil, or I saw injustice, I saw a grievous evil. These themes, these ideas are just repeated over and over. It's no different here. Chapter 6 is short. We're going to do the whole thing. Let's read it. Verse 1. I have seen another evil under the sun, and it weighs heavily on mankind. God gives some people wealth and possessions and honor so that they lack nothing their hearts desire, but God does not grant them the ability to enjoy them, and strangers enjoy them instead. This is meaningless, a grievous evil. A man may have 100 children and live many years, yet no matter how long he lives, if he cannot enjoy his prosperity and does not receive a proper burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he is. It comes without meaning, it departs in darkness, and in darkness its name is shrouded. Though it never saw the sun or knew anything, it has more rest than does that man. Even if he lives 1,000 years twice over, but fails to enjoy his prosperity, do not all go to the same place. Everyone's toil is for their mouth, yet their appetite is never satisfied. What advantage does the wise have over the fools? What do the poor gain by knowing how to conduct themselves before others? Better what the eye sees than the roving of the appetite. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Whatever exists has already been named, and what humanity is has been known. No one can contend with someone who is stronger. The more the words, the less the meaning, and how does that profit anyone? For who knows what is good for a person in life during the few and meaningless days they pass through like a shadow? Who can tell them what will happen under the sun after they are gone? I get the sense in reading this that Solomon might have some regrets. He might have felt or be feeling some discontent even with his own life, because I think he knows he's at the end of his life, and he sees what's coming next, and it might not seem all that fair to him. In the New Testament, in the book of Philippians, Paul has a reminder about contentment, and I think this is very personal to him. Philippians chapter 4, it says this in verse 11. I'm not saying this because I'm in need, for I've learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I think it's interesting that Paul says he's learned to be content. And I think for us to actually learn things in life and be able to apply those is the key to our heart changing and our heart truly being in tune with what God would want us to do in life. I think if Solomon would have been able to maybe even apply some of this to his own life, he might have felt less discontent. Remember, I said that he wrote this book 3,000 years ago, but if you transplanted him to now and he wrote the same book, I think he would come up with a lot of the same exact conclusions. It's one of the things that glues things together for us theologically, because ultimately we have this idea of God as a loving God, God with a plan for redemption. We know we need that, And in that is where we should find our rest, our joy, and our contentment. So at that point, it transcends any perceived injustice. It transcends any perceived evil. It transcends external circumstances because the focus isn't on us and it's not on those things. It's on something completely and entirely different. The middle of chapter 6, it's talking a little bit about people that worry a lot and plan for the future, and so they can't really enjoy what's happening right now because they're basically building up these mountains in their mind that they have to somehow cross over on their own. Life isn't that way. I've seen a lot of sermons recently about Psalm 23 and this idea of God walking with us or being there through the valley. I find that to be greatly encouraging. Here's an idea about contentment. Contentment simply says God, as a father, is good and he knows what is good for me. Once I accept that God knows what's good for me, then I can understand that where he has me, the rung I'm on in life, so to speak, is exactly where he needs me to be. And wherever that is, he can use me and he intends to use me. Doing this helps us overcome even the battle with envy or jealousy. We can look at other people that we perceive to be more successful or wealthier, and we can be happy for them. Of course, Jesus is the perfect example of contentment. He went from being in heaven to being on earth, being essentially at the top of the rung to coming down here on a very low rung and actually serving us and ultimately sacrificing his life for us. If there was ever a picture of being content with a lot or little, Jesus is that picture. He never got a wife, he never got a house, but yet he was the picture of contentment, the very picture of purpose. Is that what we want in our lives? Of course it is. Mark Driscoll puts it like this. He says, a discontented Christian forgets that if Jesus was like us, he would have never stepped off his throne. So let me just leave you with two questions to talk about with your family. In what areas of your life are you content? And in what areas of your life are you feeling discontent? Okay, I lied. Maybe three questions. What are you going to do about it? Let's trust God together. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, and then you can click that little bell for notifications so that when First Pres has more content coming up, like Breakfast and Bible Study on Saturdays, or this week with Pastor Dino on Mondays, you'll get a notification that that content is up, and you can watch it on YouTube. Of course, we put everything on Facebook as well, so like, follow, subscribe, share, do all of those things. Church, we love you. Thank you for watching.